Hey, I'm John Krasinski, the writer-director of A Quiet Place Part 2.
The opening scene is everything about the opening sequence is excellent. How it's crafted is the most fascinating thing. The directing is excellent. The acting is excellent. The execution is excellent. It's all excellent. The opening scene puts me in the perspective of John Krasinski's character. He's just an average, everyday guy. He's going to the store, he's getting himself some mandarin oranges, I think, and some water, and then you see a guy off in La La Land watching the news, and it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody, and then you see Cillian Murphy, and he's there, and it sets him up for later, and they're at a softball game. I feel like I'm a part of the community while I'm watching the opening. And then we know that the bad shit is going to go down. But it's intense when it happens because it feels real. They see this fire in the sky and it's visually and everyone's running around. And then we're in Emily Blunt's perspective when she's in the car, and it's suspenseful. It's terrifying. It's great. But I feel that right after the opening, the movie goes a little up and down for me. There are too many scenarios being set up here that I can't keep track of them all. There's just too much stuff happening all at once. For example, there is a scene on a dock that I thought was very intense. But the scene is intercut with Emily Blunt blowing shit up. I thought that ruined the intense nature of the dock scene. I would have preferred if the dock scene had played out by itself. It was intense on its own. It didn't need to be intercut with Emily Blunt blowing shit up, because then it just feels like, oh, you're just action shit blowing explosions. But a lot of these moments and situations that are implemented here do have interesting payoffs. Like Cillian Murphy's character, for instance. Not only does Cillian Murphy deliver an exceptional performance, but I care about his character because of the way he is structured. One of the major things that bother me about this movie is that they'll introduce an interesting character. They introduce multiple interesting characters, and they die! It's surprisingly shocking when you see a character that's interesting and they just die. Overall, I will say that this movie is great. This is a great movie for multiple reasons. The directing from John Krasinski. Every scene here with the set design is immaculate, and it explains who the characters are. There are meticulous shots in this film. There are scenes that are set up to where you're supposed to pay attention to the environment. And I enjoy movies that do that. But then while it's doing that, it's establishing characters, the characters of this world. We're building relationships with them. So I was satisfied. Up until the very end. I think the ending to this movie absolutely sucks. It's kind of like the ending to the first movie, but I think the ending to the first movie makes more sense because it's ambiguous and you can come up with your own interpretation as to what happened. Did they die or did they live? But in this, it abruptly ends to where there's really no cliffhanger. It definitely sets itself up for a sequel. And I don't like that. I like endings. I like definitive endings to movies. But you know what? They got me hook, line, and sinker. I will be there opening day for the third movie, for part 3. I will watch it because this movie, part 2, is great. That's all I have to say.